in this time of pandemic, I pray to God for the safety and well-being of all my dear children and their families. Okay, so let's start with the topic. This is chapter 1 from chemistry, which is chemical reactions and equations. In this video, we are going to take only a part of this. Next part of the chapter will be taken in the next video. Okay, so as the name of the chapter says, chemical reactions and equations. Let me first tell you what is a chemical reaction. Now, you might not be knowing what is a chemical reaction, but you are actually aware of one term, which is chemical change. You have already come across this word, which is chemical change, in your previous classes. Chemical change is a change in which new substances are formed, and a change which cannot be reversed. Okay, you have already come across these things with reference to chemical change in previous class, which is in class 8th. Okay, so chemical change and chemical reaction, both of these are actually the same thing. In a chemical reaction, new substances are produced which have new properties from the substances which are taking part in this reaction. Okay, now there are so many changes taking place in our environment, like photosynthesis is one of the changes, respiration is one of the changes. So all these changes are chemical changes. And why do we refer to these changes as chemical changes? Because in both of these changes a new substance is formed, and that new substance has a different set of properties. Okay, like when we respire, then what we do is we take in oxygen for the oxidation of glucose, and when glucose is oxidized, then what we get is energy is there produced within the cells of a living being as a result of respiration. In a very similar manner, when the plants, they absorb sunlight, they absorb water and minerals from the soil, then there is a process named photosynthesis which takes place, and as a result of this what they produce is C6H12O6, which is glucose, and that is utilized by the plants for getting their nutritional requirements fulfilled. Okay, so carbon dioxide, water, minerals, these are changing into a new substance which is carbohydrate, C6H12O6. Okay, now coming on to the definition of this term, which is chemical reactions. Like I already said, that this is the process in which new substances with new properties are produced. Now one more term is there, which is chemical equation. Chemical equation is very much closely related to chemical reaction. It is actually a method of representing a chemical reaction or a chemical change with the help of symbols and formula of the substances which are taking part in the reaction. Like you can say that coal. Okay, coal, I hope you all are knowing. Coal burns in oxygen. Okay, and as a result what you get on the product side is carbon dioxide gas is produced, heat is produced, light is produced. Okay, so coal, the symbol or the symbol for coal is going to be capital C. Coal is carbon, nothing else but carbon, and the symbol for carbon is capital C, and the molecular formula for oxygen is O2. So capital C plus O2 will give CO2, which is carbon dioxide. So this is actually representing the same chemical reaction or the chemical change when I am making use of the symbol and formula of these many substances. Okay, so whenever you represent any chemical change with the help of symbols and formula of the substances which are involved in a chemical reaction, then that is a chemical equation. Okay, next is a word equation. When you don't make use of the symbols and formula, when you simply write in words that coal combines with oxygen and will give you carbon dioxide, then this is a word equation. When you are representing a chemical change or a chemical reaction, and simply you are writing, you are not even making use of the formula, you are writing that or you are representing that in words. Now there are two more terms which are closely related to a chemical reaction or a chemical equation. So those two terms are reactant and product. Now the example that I have already taken is coal burns in oxygen to form carbon dioxide. So coal and oxygen, these two substances are taking part in the reaction. So these two are the reactants. And the substance which is formed as a result of the reaction, which is carbon dioxide, is the product over here. Next is, now the point of concern over here is that how the reactants change into products. What actually happens that carbon and oxygen changes into carbon dioxide? So the thing that happens is rearrangement of atoms. Now what does this word rearrangement means? Rearrangement means getting arranged in a different manner. Like earlier, carbon atom was actually not at all closely bonded or chemically bonded to oxygen. Carbon was separate and two oxygen atoms were chemically bonded to form oxygen molecule. So this is what the situation was. And after the reaction, what happens is that one carbon atom is chemically bonded to two oxygen atoms, and this results in the formation of carbon dioxide. So the atoms or all the elements which are there taking part in the reaction, they get arranged in a different manner, and this results in the formation of products. Now one more very important thing is that for the elements or for the atoms of different elements to be rearranged, this involves the breaking of old bonds and formation of new bonds. If the bond between two oxygen atoms won't break, then how is it possible for the carbon atom to combine with it? Okay, so rearrangement definitely involves the breaking of old bonds and formation of new bonds. You will understand this better when we are taking few examples. Okay, now there are two examples that we have taken over here. First example is where hydrogen gas combines with oxygen gas to form water. Now these two are gases and the product that you are getting is water. Now you can see that I have taken these two sea green colored balls are actually representing one molecule of hydrogen. One molecule of hydrogen consists of two hydrogen atoms, that is why it is written as H2, and two such molecules of hydrogen are taken. You can see this is first molecule of hydrogen, this is second molecule of hydrogen. What is this? This is oxygen molecule, and only one oxygen molecule is there. One oxygen molecule consists of two oxygen atoms, that is why you can see two red colored balls chemically bonded. Okay, now for the rearrangement to take place, what should happen is that the bond between the hydrogen atoms, this should break, and the bond between these two hydrogen atoms should also break. Then the bond between these two oxygen atoms should also break. If the bond between these two oxygen atoms, these two hydrogen atom and these two hydrogen atom will break, then only they will be able to rearrange in a different manner. Okay, and as a result of rearrangement, you can see over here what we are getting is water molecule, and in this two hydrogen atoms, which are represented by sea green colored balls, are actually chemically bonded to one oxygen atom, and this results in the formation of water molecule. Okay, now next example is hydrogen gas combines with chlorine gas and forms hydrogen chloride gas. So you can see hydrogen molecule is represented by this two yellow colored balls which are chemically bonded, and chlorine molecule is represented by these two red colored balls which are chemically bonded. Now again, for the formation of hydrogen chloride gas, which is HCl, breaking of old bond should take place, which means the bond between hydrogen molecule should break and the bond between these two chlorine atoms should break. Then only one hydrogen atom, this first hydrogen atom, will combine with first chlorine atom, and this is HCl. Then the second hydrogen atom will combine with the second chlorine atom, this is another molecule of hydrogen chloride gas. Okay, so old bond, which was the bond between these two hydrogen atoms and the bond between these two chlorine atoms, is going to break, and the new bond which is going to be formed is between hydrogen atom and chlorine atom, and this hydrogen atom and chlorine atom. So this is how the rearrangement of atoms takes place, by the breaking of old bonds and the formation of new bonds. Okay, I hope it is clear to you. Next, now this is again a very important thing for you to understand, that is a balanced chemical equation. Now you have already understood what is a chemical equation. Chemical equation is nothing but representing a chemical change with the help of symbols and formula of the substances involved in it. So whenever you represent a chemical change or a chemical reaction making use of the symbols and formula of the substances, then it is a chemical equation. Now what does this word balanced over here means? Balanced over here means when the number of atoms of each element are equal on both the sides of the reaction. Whatever elements are there in the reaction, their number should be equal on the reactant side and on the product side. If it is so that all the elements which are there in the on the reactant side and on the product side, their number is equal, then only it is a balanced chemical equation. Otherwise what it will be? It will be unbalanced chemical equation. Even if one element is not equal in number on the reactant side or on the product side, then it is going to be unbalanced chemical equation. Okay, if one or more elements, one or more atoms of elements are unequal on both the sides of the reaction, then it is unbalanced chemical equation. Now first of all you have to understand the difference between balanced and unbalanced chemical equation. So let's just take a few examples with the help of which I guess you might be able to understand the difference. Okay, so the first equation that we are going to take up over here is zinc metal reacts with H2SO4, which is sulfuric acid. Then it gives zinc sulfate and hydrogen gas is evolved. Okay, so first of all you have to write the names of all the elements which are involved in this reaction. Okay, zinc metal symbol is capital Z small n, so that is zinc. Then capital H is the symbol for hydrogen, capital S is the symbol for sulfur, capital O is the symbol for oxygen. Okay, so these are the four elements which are taking part in this, which are involved in this reaction. Okay, let's see the number of zinc atoms which are there on the reactant side. First of all we will see the number of all these elements on the reactant side. Okay, so zinc is only 1 in number. How you are going to know it? Because no such number is written next to Zn as the subscript, and even before Zn nothing is there. So this shows that zinc is only 1 in number, so that is why I have written 1 over here. Okay, next to capital H you can see 2 is written as a subscript. So this shows that hydrogen atoms are 2 in this compound which is sulfuric acid. So 2 is written over here. Next is capital S. Capital S and capital O, in between these two is there any number which is written? No. So no subscript is there in between capital S and capital O, which means that only one sulfur atom is present in sulfuric acid. So again you can see I have written 1 in front of sulfur. Then oxygen, 4 is written as a subscript next to capital O, which means 4 oxygen atoms are there. So you can see 4 is written over here. Next, now we are going to find out the number of atoms of each element on the product side. This is the product side. Okay, this arrow indicates the products being present on the right hand side. Okay, and these two were the reactants. Why we are calling these two substances as the reactants? Because these are taking part in the reaction, and these two substances are produced as a result of the reaction. So these are the products. Okay, now zinc sulfate consists of only one zinc atom, because Zn के बाद देखिए आप nothing is written as a subscript, no such number is there after Zn, which means zinc is only 1 in number. So I have written 1 over here. Next, capital S represents sulfur, and nothing is written in between capital S and capital O, no such subscript. So this shows that only one atom of sulfur is there, so 1 is written over here. Next to capital O, 4 is written, which means 4 atoms of oxygen are there, so 4 is written over here. And over here H, capital H represents hydrogen, 2 is written as a subscript, so 2 hydrogen atoms are there. Now you can see to it. Zinc 1 1 both the sides, hydrogen 2 2 both the sides, sulfur 1 1 both the sides of the reaction, and oxygen 4 4 both the sides of the reaction. Now the atoms of each element, all the elements you can also say, each element or all the elements are equal on the reactant side and on the product side. So that is why this equation is a balanced chemical equation. If one or more atoms of elements are unequal on the reactant side or the product side, then it is going to be unbalanced chemical equation. Okay, one more example. Now calcium oxide is CaO, water is H2O, calcium hydroxide is CaOH whole twice. Now the elements which are there in this reaction is calcium. Capital C small a represents calcium, capital O represents oxygen, and capital H represents hydrogen. After that, this is again O, which represents oxygen. We have already written, so need not to write it again. Now let's have a look. Let's find out how many calcium atoms are there on the reactant side. Okay, so next to the symbol of calcium, which is capital C small a, nothing is written as a subscript, so only one atom of calcium is there. Then capital O is here also, and capital O is in water also. Okay, so 1 plus 1 will give you 2 oxygens. So 2 oxygen atoms are there on the reactant side. Next, in case of capital H, 2 is written as a subscript, so 2 hydrogen atoms are there on the reactant side. Now coming on to the product side, calcium, is there any subscript next to the symbol capital C small a? No, no such subscript is there, so calcium is only 1 in number. Okay, next coming on to capital O, is there any subscript next to capital O and capital H, in between O and H? No, but here we have written 2. Why? So the point of concern over here is that capital O and capital H, both of these are enclosed in a bracket. You can see the bracket over here, and 2 is written as a subscript outside the bracket. Now whatever is there within the bracket, this 2 subscript is going to be valid for both of these. Okay, like only O and H is there, so 2 subscript is valid for O also, and 2 subscript is valid for H also. Okay, so यानी क्या मतलब हुआ, that 2 oxygen atoms are there in this, so that is why I have written 2, and 2 hydrogen atoms are also there, so 2 is written over here. Now you can compare 2 calcium both the side, 2 hydrogen both the side, 2 oxygen both the sides. So this again shows that atoms of each element, all the elements, each or all means the same. Okay, atoms of all the elements are equal on both the sides of the reaction. On the reactant side and on the product side, they are equal in number. So that is why this is a balanced chemical equation. Okay, now coming on to the next thing, which is unbalanced chemical equation. Now I have already told you the difference between balanced and unbalanced, but still we are going to discuss this with the help of few examples. Even if one or more atoms of element are unequal in number on the reactant and the product side, then the equation is unbalanced chemical equation. So here are a few examples of unbalanced chemical equation. You can see hydrogen is 2 over here, hydrogen is 2 over here. Okay, it's balanced. Now O2, oxygen atoms are 2, and over here it is only 1 in number. So that is why this equation is unbalanced chemical equation, because only oxygen atoms are unequal on the reactant and product side. That is why this equation is unbalanced chemical equation. Next, magnesium is only 1, both the sides. Then oxygen is 2 over here on the reactant and only 1 over here on the product side. Then again this equation becomes unbalanced because oxygen atoms are unequal on the reactant and the product side. So that is why this equation is unbalanced chemical equation. Next, now the question arises that how we are going to tackle this problem, how we are going to do it, how we are going to balance a chemical equation. We have already discussed the difference between balanced and unbalanced equation. Now the question arises how to balance it. Now what does this word balancing mean? Balancing means the process of making the number of atoms of each element equal on both the sides of the reaction. Now we have to do it, we have to make the number of atoms of each element equal. Now the question arises why you have to balance it. We have to balance a chemical equation in order to abide by the law of conservation of mass. Now law of conservation of mass is already known to you. You have come across this law in class 9th. which states that in a chemical reaction, matter or mass is neither created nor destroyed. So if mass is neither created nor destroyed, which means that the number of atoms of each element should be equal on both the sides, then only mass will neither be created nor destroyed. Otherwise, the equation will not abide or will not follow the law of conservation of mass. Okay. Now the next thing is that how we are going to balance it. So we are going to balance it by hit and trial method. By hit and trial simply means that you have to add 2, 3, 4 whatever as the multipliers, and then if it is appropriate, okay, otherwise you can change the multiplier. Okay. And you are not going to add anything as the subscript, because subscript either indicates the atomicity or it indicates the valency of any specific element. Okay. So you cannot bring about the change in subscript. What you can do is you can add multipliers, you cannot change subscripts. I hope it is clear. Now let's apply this and you will be able to understand it in a better manner. So one example that we are taking is hydrogen gas combines with oxygen gas to form water. 2 hydrogen are there on both the reactant and the product side. It's okay, need not of balancing hydrogen atoms. Coming on to the next one, oxygen is 2 over here and only 1 on the product side. So definitely you need to add 2 as a multiplier before H2O to make oxygen S2. Okay. So when you are adding 2 over here, just see, oxygen becomes 2, but the problem is that hydrogen also becomes 4. 2 into 2, you are adding 2 as a multiplier, so it will get multiplied to the subscript, and that is why hydrogen becomes 4. Now it was earlier 2 only, so what you can do is you can add multiplier 2 over here also. This makes the hydrogen atom 4 on both the sides of the reaction and oxygen atoms 2 on both the sides of the reaction. Okay, I hope you have understood. Next one, magnesium plus oxygen gives magnesium oxide. Magnesium is only 1 both the sides, but oxygen is 1 on the reactant, 2 on the reactant and 1 on the product side. So how to balance it? You have to add 2 as a multiplier over here. See, we have added 2 as a multiplier. Now as a result of adding this multiplier, magnesium also becomes 2 in number. Okay, so we have to add 2 as a multiplier on the reactant side also before magnesium, so that magnesium is 2 on both the sides and oxygen is also 2 on both the sides of the reaction. So this is how this equation is balanced. Next reaction is methane, CH4. Methane gas burns in oxygen to form carbon dioxide and water. Now you can see carbon is only 1 in number on the reactant side, because nothing is written as a subscript between capital C and capital H. So this shows that carbon is only 1 in number. Okay. So over here also capital C, nothing is there in between capital C and capital O. So this shows again carbon is only 1 in number. Now coming on to the next one, which is hydrogen 4. 4 is written as a subscript, and this side 2 is written as a subscript, which means hydrogen is only 2 over here. So how to make this hydrogen 4? You can add 2 as a multiplier before H2O this way. So we have added 2 as a multiplier before H2O. Now on adding 2 as a multiplier, hydrogen becomes 2 into 2 will give you 4. Now coming on to oxygen, just see, earlier it was 2 only, and oxygen over here is, when we have added 2 before as a multiplier before water, then it becomes 4. So you have to make this oxygen also 4 by adding 2 as the multiplier. Now you can check again the whole equation. You will find out that carbon is only 1, hydrogen is 4 both the sides of the reaction, oxygen is also 4 both the sides of the reaction. How come oxygen is excuse me, how come oxygen is 4? Oxygen is 2 present in this carbon dioxide molecule, and 2 oxygen is there in water molecule. So 2 plus 2 will give you 4 oxygen atoms altogether. Now when you add anything as a multiplier, so this will get multiplied to 2 also, and this will get multiplied to 1 also, because if nothing is written as a subscript next to oxygen, which means 1 is there. So oxygen becomes 2 in number, 2 into 1 will give you 2, and hydrogen will become 2 into 2 will give you 4. Okay, so oxygen is 2 over here and 2 in carbon dioxide, so 4 oxygen atoms are there altogether in this reaction. Okay, coming on to the next thing, characteristics of chemical reaction. Now What are the characteristics of chemical reaction? So what does this mean? This simply means that how you get to know how a chemical reaction is taking place or a chemical reaction has taken place. आपको कैसे पता चलेगा? So there are certain observable changes. There are few changes with the help of which you can identify and you'll get to know that the reaction is taking place. Okay? So we are going to discuss those observable changes which help us to identify that a reaction is taking place. Now there is one very easy example which is related to our day-to-day life. Just imagine your mother asks you to find out that whether the rice is cooked properly or it is still not cooked. So how you find it out? As simple as that. What you are going to do is you are going to take 1 or 2 grain of rice and you can just place it between your fingers and you can just press it. If it is cooked properly, then it is going to be very much soft. Okay, on pressing it between fingers, it will be you will feel that the texture is soft and it is actually very much tender. But if it is not cooked, you will get to feel it that the rice is still partially cooked from within. Okay, because it will not be soft from within. Okay, so this is the observable change. The rice, if it is cooked, it will be soft from within. Okay, it will be tender from within. And if it is not cooked, if it is still raw, it will not be soft or tender from within. Okay, so this is the observable change which indicates that the rice is properly cooked or the rice is not properly cooked. In the very similar manner, there are a few observable changes which help us to identify that a reaction is taking place or that the reaction has taken place. Coming on to the first observable change. First is evolution of gas. So if you are mixing 2 or 3 substances and you get to see some bubbling kind of thing taking place, then you can say that evolution of gas is taking place, and this is the observable change which indicates that a chemical reaction is taking place. Okay? Now there is one example that we have taken over here, which is zinc granules and hydrochloric acid. Now zinc is a metal. If you will put 1 or 2 granules of zinc in hydrochloric acid, what you will notice is that bubbling will take place and a gas is going to be evolved. Now the experimental setup which is shown over here clearly shows a delivery tube which is used to trap the gas which is evolved, and it is allowed to pass through a soap solution. Now as a result, the gas, whichever gas is evolved over here, it will be trapped within the soap bubbles, and you can see that they are bringing a candle close to it and it actually burns with a pop sound. The gas which is trapped in the soap bubble, it burns with a pop sound. Now this is one of the characteristics of hydrogen gas. If the gas evolved is hydrogen, then this is actually the test which is used to detect the presence of hydrogen gas. If the gas is hydrogen, it will burn with a pop sound. Okay. Next. Now this is another example where we are taking sodium carbonate. This white colored solid is sodium carbonate and this transparent liquid is hydrochloric acid. Now we have taken both the reactants in a separate test tube. The moment you are going to mix them, or the moment you are going to pour hydrochloric acid on top of sodium carbonate, this kind of bubbling will take place. And this shows, again, this bubbling shows the bubbles are rising up from below, you can see, and this shows that the gas is evolved in this reaction. And the gas which is evolved in this reaction is definitely not hydrogen, but it is carbon dioxide. Okay, carbon dioxide gas is evolved when you are going to mix sodium carbonate with hydrochloric acid. Okay, next reaction. Next is the formation of precipitate. Now the question arises, what is a precipitate? I said that if the rice is cooked, then a precipitate is formed. And you don't know what is a precipitate, so how you will find out कि precipitate बना है कि नहीं. ठीक है. So precipitate क्या होता है? Precipitate is a solid insoluble substance. पहली बात तो एक वो solid होने वाला है. Precipitate is a solid substance, is not a liquid substance, is not a gaseous substance. Precipitate is going to be a solid substance. Okay, and it is insoluble. I hope you know the difference between soluble and insoluble. Substance which is completely dissolved in a liquid is soluble. Substance which remains undissolved in a liquid, then it is insoluble. Okay, so precipitate आपका है क्या? दो properties हमें पता चली है. First thing is that it is a solid, it is not a liquid, it is not a gas. Next is it is insoluble. Okay, which means it will remain undissolved in a liquid. It will not be dissolved in a liquid. and it's a product. One more information with reference to precipitate. Reactant नहीं है, precipitate क्या है आपका product है, which separates out from the solution, जो कि बना कब होगा, जब आपने दो solutions को mix किया होगा. So precipitate is going to be formed when you are going to mix two aqueous solutions, or next situation is, first situation is it is formed when you mix two aqueous solution, and next situation is when you are passing a gas through an aqueous solution of a substance. So either or mixing two aqueous solutions. Now I hope you know the meaning of aqueous solution. Aqueous solution is when you make a solution of any substance in water, then it is an aqueous solution. When you dissolve common salt in water, then that is an aqueous solution of sodium chloride, because chemically common salt is sodium chloride. So you are making a solution or a true solution by dissolving common salt in water, so it is an aqueous solution. Okay. Another situation where a formation of precipitate might take place is a gas is passed. Okay, so either you are mixing two aqueous solutions or you are passing a gas through an aqueous solution, and then even precipitate formation might take place. Next, now there are two examples of reactions that we are going to take up where formation of precipitate takes place. First is when we are mixing two aqueous solutions, that is silver nitrate aqueous solution and sodium chloride aqueous solution. Sodium chloride is a common salt only. So we have made an aqueous solution. This is sodium chloride, which is clear transparent liquid, you can see, and this clear transparent liquid was silver nitrate. And when the moment we are going to pour sodium chloride in silver nitrate, you are getting to see that something white colored is formed over here. This white colored substance is a solid insoluble substance, so that is a white colored precipitate. Next, yellow colored precipitate. Now this example is again very important. It is asked quite random in your board examination. Now this yellow colored precipitate, you can see, is obtained when you are mixing two clear aqueous solutions. Both of these aqueous solutions are clear, you can see, nothing is there as the undissolved part of it. So we are mixing potassium iodide, which is Ki, which is first test tube is Ki, and the next one is lead nitrate, which is PbNO3 whole twice. So this is lead nitrate. Both of these liquids are aqueous solutions, which means both of these are obtained by dissolving Ki and lead nitrate in water. Now when you are going to mix both of these, when the content from the second test tube is poured into the first one, then this kind of thing will happen. A yellow colored precipitate will be formed. A yellow colored substance which is solid and which is insoluble will be formed. And what is this yellow colored substance? This yellow colored substance is lead iodide, PbI2. Okay. Next, change in color. Another observable change. Like I said, if the rice is cooked and when you are pressing the rice between your fingers, it will be actually very much soft from within. So one more observable change, if a reaction is taking place, so you will get to see some change in color on being heated or on being mixed. Okay. So you can see we have taken copper sulfate crystals. Copper sulfate crystals are blue in color, brightly blue in color. You must have seen this. And what is the formula of copper sulfate crystals? It is CuSO4.5H2O. And when it is heated directly over flame, you can see it turns white in color. And the change in color over here indicates is the characteristic of this reaction, and this shows that a reaction is taking place. Okay. Now what is the chemical formula of copper sulfate crystals? It is CuSO4.5H2O. And what is the chemical formula of this white colored compound which is formed? It is copper sulfate. It is not hydrated copper sulfate, it is anhydrous copper sulfate. Hydrated is CuSO4.5H2O and anhydrous is CuSO4. Okay. Next. Now again one more example where there is change in color. Now you can see this is hydrated ferrous sulfate, or you can also say ferrous sulfate crystals. And when these sea green colored ferrous sulfate crystals are heated over flame in a very similar manner the way we have done it with copper sulfate crystals, then it will change into white colored powder. So this is anhydrous ferrous sulfate. This brightly sea green colored crystals are ferrous sulfate crystals, hydrated ferrous sulfate, and this white colored powder is anhydrous ferrous sulfate. What is the formula of ferrous sulfate crystals or hydrated ferrous sulfate? It is FeSO4.7H2O. And this white colored is anhydrous ferrous sulfate. Formula of anhydrous ferrous sulfate is FeSO4. Next, change in temperature. Now again a very good observation or observable change which shows that a reaction is taking place. So if a reaction is taking place, it might happen that the beaker or the test tube in which you are performing the reaction, it might turn hot. So this shows that the heat is evolved as a product of this reaction. Heat is produced in this reaction. And in some cases you will see that you have to supply heat energy for the reaction to take place. So both of these reactions are actually involving some change in temperature. In one you have to supply heat, in the other one heat is produced. Okay. So let's see some of the examples. Now when you mix quicklime with water, I hope you know what is quicklime. Quicklime is calcium oxide, commonly known as chuna, and when it is mixed with water it forms slaked lime, which is calcium hydroxide. So this reaction is exothermic, which means in this reaction heat is produced, and whatever be the container in which you are mixing quicklime and water, that will turn hot because of the evolution of heat in this reaction. Next, zinc granules and dilute hydrochloric acid. Now you have already come across with this reaction where we have discussed about the evolution of gas, and hydrogen gas was evolved. Now this reaction particularly shows two characteristics of chemical reaction. First characteristic was evolution of hydrogen gas. Second characteristic is change in temperature, because the test tube in which we are going to put zinc granules and dilute hydrochloric acid, it will turn hot because heat is evolved. So this reaction is also exothermic in nature. Okay. Next, change in state. Now a change in state also indicates or might indicate that a reaction is taking place. So one of the very common examples is that hydrogen gas is combining with oxygen gas. Both of these are gases, and when they combine then they form water, which is a liquid at room temperature. So you can see in this chemical reaction there is change in state involved. Two gases are combining and the product that you are getting is a liquid at room temperature. Next example is ammonia gas is combining with hydrogen chloride gas. So ammonia is a gas, the formula of this gas is NH3, and hydrogen chloride formula is HCl. So both of these are combining, and what you are getting as the product is NH4Cl, which is ammonium chloride, and ammonium chloride is a white colored solid at room temperature. Okay. So this is another example where the characteristic which is visible is change in state. That's all about it. Thank you so much, and we'll continue with the next part of this chapter in my next video. Till then, do take good care of yourself and stay safe.